Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Friday. Excuse me. It is April 24th, 2020, and we're back here with physical geography. So let's take a look what's in what's on tap today. So let's go to lectures. Now, this class is entitled New England, right? So click on that. Excuse me. Now, today, so this class is about the physical geography of New England, and specifically how really these landscape features, these landforms that we walk around on every day, were formed, specifically during and since the end of the last ice age. Now, normally, right, we would have been on our field trip on Wednesday, so you would have actually seen a lot of these landforms. We would have seen them, we would have walked around on them, we would have explored them, we would have touched them, we would have climbed them, but of course we couldn't do that. So, this is, a little bit maybe less interesting in some sense, but on the other hand, it gives us a little bit more time to explore some of the processes. Announcements are pretty obvious. There's a worksheet due today. Remember, the ecological footprint lab is due today, and of course you are working on our last lab, the flood of 1955. And materials and handouts. You're watching this video, here's the slide deck, here's a couple of handouts summarizing, if you will, the geology of New England, and then these awesome dinosaur tracks that unfortunately we can't visit. We would have visited them on our field trip. Other things, if you want to see the field trip a little bit more, there's a slideshow here. And then there's a couple of videos here. This one is specifically made. A student made that a few years ago about the field trip. And then some other cool videos here. The geology of adventure is nice. That sort of is explains a little bit to you the landforms and things you can see in the White Mountains. And then here, Mount Tom. So let's look at the slide deck. And as usual, we start with a retrieval practice. This goes back to the class on Wednesday. And again, make sure you can view my presenter notes here for some important context. Here's the class, here's the agenda, announcements and all that. So we're going to start by looking at the Earth. About 20,000 years ago, then sort of zoom in onto New England, what New England looked like, let's say 20,000 years ago. And then that period of rapid change when the ice age was over and the Earth transitioned out of an ice age into an interglacial time period, which happened between about 20,000 years and about 14,000 years ago, and then specific landforms that we can see right here in New England, right here in Massachusetts, Cape Cod, places like that. In terms of the schedule for the semester, this ends week 14. We have basically 5 more classes, right? We have next week, Coastal Processes Part 1, Part 2, Groundwater and Soils. Then we'll do a big review and reflection. And then, of course, we have our third test on Wednesday, May 6th. So be aware of that. Weather forecast. We got the sort of system here. Pretty large system. So today it's going to rain. Not super intensely, but it's going to be long and gray today. Depending where you are, out here in Western Mass, this should end at some point this afternoon. If you're in Eastern Mass, of course, it's going to persist longer. Gorgeous day forecast for Saturday. Nice and warm, sunny, calm wind. So there's this brief period here of high pressure that's going to give us a very nice Saturday. And then somewhat unsettled weather, colder again, until hopefully next week we're going to shift the pattern into a more sort of stabler, sunnier, drier situation. Then I got some slides here for you of sites you would have seen on the field trip. Here's a gigantic glacial erratic that we would have visited. We would have gone to the Nightwell Dam, flood control dam. Great place to go. Beautiful, also very interesting in terms of why the dam is there and what the dam is doing for us. We would have visited the Chesterfield Gorge, just a spectacular location there up the Westfield River. Mount Greylock. This was the last time we were on Mount Greylock, so the weather wasn't all that great, but it's a gorgeous spot to be. This is the big tower there on Mount Greylock, but a great place to be. and the highest point in Massachusetts. Historically also interesting, Thoreau was up there, so also something for the folks that are interested in English and writing. We would have gone to the Natural Bridges State Park, which is these marble canyons, and here you see a dam damming up a little pond that's made out of marble, so very cool. We would have gone, here's the marble quarry. What else? We would have gone to Shelburne Falls, looked at the glacial potholes, just a spectacular sight, gorgeous. And then we would have done some other things and then ended up at the dinosaur footprints there in Holyoke on Route 5. And you can actually see the footprints. There's one. And what's cool about these footprints is they're perfectly open accessible. So you can just walk in there and really literally walk in the footsteps of dinosaurs where they walked 190 million years ago. So really a cool spot. And by the way, you can go there, right? I mean, it's right off Route 5. It's technically closed right now because, of course, it's the trustees of the reservation land and all their locations are closed. But hopefully at some point soon this will be open again and you can go there yourself. And then you can look at all this material, like what the Earth looked like 20,000 years ago. Sea level change is really interesting. What did it look like here in New England? What did it look like in Massachusetts and Connecticut? How was Cape Cod formed? Interesting story here. Why is my wife lying on this weird rock here? I'm going to take you underneath a glacier again. Here's a great video I shot several years ago in Peru. And then that incredible time of change when the Ice Age was over and the Laurentide ice sheet retreated and basically New England was uncovered again. Meltwater lakes, gigantic meltwater rivers, and then these landforms. Here are the famous glacial potholes in Shelburne Falls in the different flow conditions. How did they form? Well, here's the story about how glacial potholes form. We go to the Cape or pretty much anywhere in New England and you notice we have a lot of ponds, right? A lot of little lakes, little ponds that are approximately circular in shape. Well, how did they form? They're called kettle ponds. And then we look at this lake called Glacial Lake Hitchcock that doesn't exist anymore, but it existed 16,000 years, 15,000 years ago, 14,000 years ago, and extended almost from the Canadian border down to south of Hartford. So Westfield and Springfield and places like this were at the bottom of a lake, let's say 14,000 years ago. Gives us a lot of interesting landforms, including deltas. And that's quite relevant because the Westfield State campus is built on a delta. A little bit more about that. And then we get to the end and we got some review and reflection for you. So great class today, lots of pictures, lots of stuff that you could use immediately to look at your landscape wherever you are and be like, hey, look, this is a glacial erratic. Oh, hey, look, this makes sense now. This pond I'm swimming on every summer is a kettle pond, and so on and so forth. So that's all I got to say for today. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you again on Monday.